Trump shoves Governor Gavin Newsom to the side and deploys 2,000 National Guard troops into the city of Los Angeles without Gavin Newsom's permission. Is this against the law? My name is Shanda, and welcome to the Deep End. The National Guard has not been federalized since 1992, I believe it was, with the Rodney King riots. But even then, the governor of California requested their presence. It hasn't been since 1965 since a president, which I believe at the time was Lyndon B. Johnson, that went over the head of the state governor of Alabama, which at the time was George Wallace, to protect the civil rights protesters, because of course Governor Wallace didn't want to do that. So this type of an action has not happened since 1965. But the only difference is, in 1965, it was for the people. This particular federalization without permission is actually against the people. The New York Times reported that Governor Gavin Newsom said that this was purposefully inflammatory, the move made by President Trump to send in National Guard troops. He also stated that he believes it would erode public trust. I'm sorry, Governor Newsom. I think public trust was lost when ICE agents were allowed to handcuff little girls, arrest granny and grandpa, arrest moms and dads at their workplace or on their way home from work, to go into people's houses and drag people out and detain them for immigration reasons, meeting people at their court date only to arrest them when they're trying to do the right thing. So it's a little late for that statement. So can a president do this? Is it legal for a president to go over a state governor's head and deploy National Guard troops into their area? The answer is absolutely they can. I'm going to read that law to you. It says, according to Law 10, United States Code 12406, National Guard and Federal Service Call. Whenever there is a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, the president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those laws. Pete Hegseth, which is the defense secretary, also stated there are Marine troops within 100 miles south of Los Angeles that are ready to be deployed to any area within Los Angeles that the unrest are going on. That is a chilling statement. You guys, this is setting a very dangerous precedent. Very dangerous for a Republican president to deploy National Guardsmen into a democratically run state without that sitting governor's approval or request. begs the question, does Trump have something against democratically run states? Is he resentful? Is he going to try to run over these governors in these states and do whatever he wants to do there? It seems like every time you turn around, he is having his administration scrub the rule books to find some kind of a loophole that allows him to do whatever he wants to do. It's something we should all be concerned about, and in fact, deathly afraid. We've already heard him threaten to defund democratically run states, and we now know that anytime Trump mentions anything, it's not really a threat, it's something he has on his docket. In fact, he has threatened before to have the National Guardsmen against American citizens. In 2004, in fact, during his campaign, he said he could deploy active military or the National Guard troops to counter the enemy within, whatever that means. I guess this is what it means. The immigrants, the Americans that he doesn't like, anybody that he chooses is the enemy, will become the enemy. You know, he's always clear about his intentions, but I think people don't listen, or they just chalk it up to hyperbole when he really means it. The Harris campaign said that statement should alarm every American citizen who cares about their freedom and their security. She also said that Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged. And the American citizen just kind of shrugged it off and said, oh, that's just campaign rhetoric. But yet, here we are. How soon we forget things that were said or things that were done, and always act oh so shocked that these things are now happening. People, we are in extreme danger. We are no longer teetering on a dictatorship. We're here. This is just one of the first glimpses of what our lives will soon become. And it seems like we're just sitting back and allowing it to happen. However, the Hispanics are doing what they feel they can do, although what they're doing is only going to end them up injured, dead, or in jail. Because they didn't do the right thing at the ballot box. The Hispanic people, not only of Los Angeles and California, but across the nation, are they're in fear. They are angry. And I think that most of us Americans can understand the position that they have found themselves in. They feel like they can't even go to their normal daily activity or their normal life-like functions. Graduations, they can't go there now because we all heard that they raided the graduation. They're afraid to go to work. They're afraid to go outside of their home to provide for their families, or hell, just to go to the grocery store. This is where we are. And I'm kind of on the fence about how I feel about this. And I say that because, I mean, they're here illegally. And by them being here illegally, technically they're breaking the law and can be considered criminals, right? And if anybody else were doing something illegal, you would strongly expect them to be held accountable legally, which means go to jail, some sort of community service, whatever the case, you would expect them to pay for their criminal activity. Well, I think the same thing applies to these situations. And I think, and I'm on the fence, because how can you be out in the American streets protesting, rioting about something that you or your fellow Hispanic persons are doing illegally? That's where I kind of jump off the train. Technically, they're illegal. Technically, they're breaking the law. So technically, they should pay for it in some way by way of jail or be deported, one way or the other. Now, on the other side, the humanitarian side, I don't want to see anybody brutalized and treated like animals. I don't want to see that. It doesn't make me feel good that this is what it's come to. I don't want to see people hurt. But at the same time, I think that if a family knows that they are here illegally, why don't they self-deport and prevent their families from having to go through this? If they want their kids to stay here, let them stay with uncle, tia, tio. Let them stay there. And they go back to Mexico instead of putting their kids under this extreme amount of fear and stress that they will never forget and will have negative effects. Now, you might say leaving their children would also have negative effects. Yes. But you're in a position right now where you have to make a choice. Either you're going to run for cover and duck and dodge for the rest of this man's administration, or you're going to put your family potentially in a very compromising position. Or you're going to get ripped away from your family without making prior arrangement, and everybody is going to be left to their own decisions. You are not in an ideal position right now. And like I said, there's a part of me that feels bad about it, but there's a part of me that thinks, well, the law's the law. And because they are right now breaking the law by being out in the streets and rioting, now, here we are with this National Guard issue. Now, where's it going to go? Is it going to be squashed? Or are we going into full rebellion? You guys, thank you for watching again. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye-bye.